Well, welcome to another series of our Solutionary show. This is where we like to bring different people on every week and talk to them about their incredible work that they're doing, bringing regenerative solutions to a broken society. And that can be anywhere from peace and social justice work to work around regenerative agriculture, renewable energy, health and wellness, spirituality, arts and culture, and also alternative economies. So I'm your host, Michael DiMartino. As you know, I'm not someone who sits in an office all day. I'm usually out here in the field, having meetings and trying to connect the dots to bring more synergy and to help activate some of the individuals and organizations in our region and also around the world. So today we have on the show, not just our keynote person, but people that have been working with her to help bring more of her work to light. And with that, I want to introduce from an incredible body of work called Wisdom's Calling, Blessings of Liberty. I want to welcome MarciaAnne. So welcome, Marcia.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I am very excited to bring a body of work that actually took me some time to develop and to even decide for myself that it had any value. Most of the questions I get are, what am I going to get from this? How does this fit into my work? And how does this fit into my life? Some of the logistics, it's a 10-part conversation that I call a discourse, because it's not just about the work that I'm bringing and the experience that I have with it. It really is a development of a conversation for you to find yourself inside of this body of work. I met a woman named Desi Andrews many years ago. We were part of a research group, about 45 different researchers and paralegals who were looking to try to figure out why it is that everything we're trained to do, everything that we're told to do, to write to our congressman, to fight for your rights, to do those things, why were they all being ineffective? Why were people being run over like with steamrollers when they tried to do what we were taught to do to be effective? And so this body of work, I met Desi, and she brought this work that I'm bringing forward in the Blessings of Liberty. And I literally, because it had to do with war powers, I put it on the shelf for about a year and a half. And when I finally pulled it out, because I'm singing, I'm not going to study war no more. And I began to realize that the study of this material literally opened up who I am in the world as a function of my own divinity, of that image and likeness that really that is the what we're told as our being divine beings. So this body of work is that conversation, and it is developed so that you can see yourself and the perceptions that come into the world in your life. Where did they come from? How did they get developed in your thinking? And then we look and see, how do we get to right now with the reality of where we are as a culture and as a society, and how do we rise above that to the expression of the harmony of our head and our heart in a way that begins to express that divinity in such a way that the people out in the world can see and recognize us.
And I think what's amazing, as being a videographer for our next speaker here in a moment, that you do such a great way of combining the spiritual aspects of, moving beyond our preceptions and perceptions to the idea of our connection to source as sovereign and divine beings, but also how that plays into every aspect of the life experience. And I know there's a lot of work that you're doing with one of our guests here in a few minutes around private membership work and sovereign by design. And it really plays into every aspect of the life experience. So before I introduce Ted Henwood, who is working on one of the initial projects, is there anything else you'd like to share about your work before we talk about the actual deliverables that people have created related to your work?
I'm just very excited to see the people taking this on and their lives transforming in the process.
And it was an honor to be part of that. So With that, I'm going to, and I just want to remind people you're watching Solutionaries. We're going to do a very brief kind of teaser today of some of the videos and some of the content that's available to all of you. But I would like to introduce our next guest. He worked with you on the Blessings of Liberty video project at the Nevada County Resilience Hub, where a lot of us had met, and has produced it into a 8 chapter series about your work, moving from preceptions and perceptions into our own sovereign process of divine unfoldment as we move towards our own exploration of liberty and what that means in all areas. He's calling in from the high Sierras, deep in a pine forest from an underground bunker somewhere. So hopefully he has full connectivity, but I want to introduce to Solutionaries producer of the introduction work, Blessings of Liberty, Ted Henwood. So Ted, welcome to Solutionaries.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, everybody. Simply, I am a filmmaker that's dedicated to producing work that's around spiritual evolution of humanity. And that's a gigantic, encompassing framework, but that dedication is what really drew me to Michael DiMartino and the Hub and the work that he's been doing around solutions to this present state of affairs we find ourselves. And he had interviewed Marcia on camera for his Golden Road show, and having helped him produce that show, I simply recognized the opportunity to, how do I say, put Marcia's work on a wider platform. It spoke to me directly because the last couple of years it's been strange for everybody. And a lot of the reasons why we find ourselves in this strangeness, those answers were difficult to discern. And I believe, it was an intuitive decision to ask Marcia to help support her work, but in producing with Michael Blessings of Liberty, it became apparent why I was drawn to that. I can simply say it's a powerful, valuable, and important conversation to engage in. And simply that is what I hope this effort will be. And I know we have guests on that are going to speak about their experience in that class or that discussion. And I myself, having been part of that discussion and then editing the series, it's been a master class of, let me just say, awakening. The class must speak to itself. That conversation must draw out that beingness that Marcia has spoken about, but it's once again invaluable. And I will just say it's been a privilege to be involved, and I encourage others to fully take on the experience. So Marcia, acknowledgement to you, and simply want to say thank you for continuing the work.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Ted. And great job. We're excited. And we know that that video is coming out here momentarily. So, like any movement based on a deeper awareness of things, I want to invite everyone to turn their microphones off, because sometimes the camera view will bounce around if your microphone is on. But I want to introduce, this is someone I got to meet just recently, another person who recognized the potency of Marcia's work and has actually continued to, kind of grab the baton and run with it. She also has an organization that's very committed to work around sovereignty. And I'm still getting to know her, but I know she has a lot of irons in the fire, is doing a lot of work and bringing a lot of connectivity. I'd like to introduce from Sovereign by Design, Angela. So welcome to Solutionaries, Angela.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here today. And yes, I wanted to introduce Sovereign by Design a little bit. Sovereign by Design was created fueled by the love for my children and their future, and with a desire to find a way out of this this matrix, also known as de facto government jurisdictions that we find ourselves in globally. As I began to open my eyes about a decade ago, I was seeing that there were many people that were sharing ways to exit these de facto situations. And my goal then became to find the leaders in the world that were marching these paths and that actually had proven methods about using those systems, and then to follow those paths myself, follow their lead, and then turn around and make it super easy and streamlined as possible for others to follow. So that's really what the goal is of Sovereign by Design, is to find our way out of the matrix, and then to turn around and kind of put a light on that path and make it as easy as possible and as streamlined, because there's many different factions of to sovereignty and living in the private. And that path ultimately took me to MarciaAnne and Wisdom's Calling and the Blessings of Liberty, as well as the trust work. And I'm just very, very excited that we're all here today sharing our stories about this and our experiences with Wisdom's Calling, the Blessings of Liberty. And thank you very much, Michael, for assisting in getting the word out there.
And if people are interested, Angela, how can they find out more information about Sovereign by Design?
They can join us at sovereignbydesign.com. Yeah, they can sign up there, and there's lots of modules that are available for people just out of the, gifted out of our heart. And that's a great place to start. And then our foundational program is Wisdom's Calling, the Blessings of Liberty. So that would be the second step.
Fantastic. Great work. And it really honored to meet you as we're all finding each other and building up our connectivity. So we do have a couple of people who want to share a little bit. I always think it's important, we can all, we're so submerged in our work that we're doing. And a lot of us are so wholeheartedly committed and volunteer and dedicate hundreds and thousands of hours to the work of helping to awaken humanity and to bring the world back into a state of balance. And I think the last couple of years has really emphasized the need for that. So in doing that today, we have the benefit of having a few people on our call who are going to share some testimonials. They're going to testify about their experience with the work. And I want to welcome first to the show, Anna and Gabriel. So welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much, Marcia, also. Well, for me, this has been a very powerful journey of synchronicities and revelations, because it forced me to see face-to-face world powers and many topics that I never wanted to see, or I was never interested in looking at that. So this journey forced me to go and see the soup we are into. Only with the clear intention of finding the divinity and the power of neutrality that is within me. Therefore, then I'm going to be able to express it in the world. So I can be above world powers, and I can really express the divine, which is going to neutralize all the programming that is being installed in humanity through our ego. So this is for me, it has been a very deep work with my ego, and only to find the power of neutrality and the divine within me. So it's a lot of research, a lot of confronting readings, but mandatory. It's beautiful, it's powerful, and it's a beautiful journey. It has to be done individually to find our words.
And it takes a real commitment to escape the matrix. For anyone who's seen a Matrix movie, we kind of joke when we call Marcia Trinity from that. But it is a lot of work and commitment and research and follow through. But as you're saying, well worth the benefit. And Gabriel, what was your experience?
Yeah, first off, thank you very much, Michael, for this opportunity, and a very heartwarming thank you for MarciaAnne and Angela for introducing us to this body of work. My experience has been transformative, to say the least. It's been an unraveling of many layers of false belief systems that I had with respect to the environment in which I was brought up, the environment in which I believed was only the truth and the reality. And it was interesting because we did the work together, Anne and I, and it was a very interesting experience that, kind of fused the intellectual with the spiritual and the heart focus. And the result was just incredibly transformative. One of the things that I came across with is the aha moments that kept popping up as we were going through this very dense reading of, what is this world that we're brought up in? And when we go through this, there's two things that happens. One, you just want to take your head, bury it in the ground, or two, you're saying, no, there's got to be more to that. And when you actually come and you rise above what's really happening, all of a sudden, it's like a flower blooming. And I started to discover what neutrality was really about. And the result is just a marvelous series of synchronicities that are happening until now and still happening. And I invite everybody who has the willingness and the commitment to self to actually go into this and discover who they really are within this just crazy world, and at the same time beautiful world, to go into it, because the results will be more than they expect.
And question, where are you both calling from? What part of the world?
From Canada.
We're from Canada. We're from the French-speaking part of Canada. So imagine that, Quebec province.
Wow. A lot of stuff happening in Canada these days, as we know too. And I think you must be a writer or something, because both of your eloquence of how you expressed your experiences was very poetic and right on point. And I think what's amazing too is there is a awakening and a rising up above the quagmire of so many forces that keep us down, and of course war powers, which we're not going to talk about it because we want people to take the class and find out more. This information is so enlightening and so dense, it takes more than a short attention span to begin to understand of it. So thank you from being on this call from Canada. And as we know, this is work that's pertinent for people all around the world. This is not something that's necessarily US based or constitutionally based. That this is a huge experience that travels through many facets of the metaverse, and especially the way that MarciaAnne has put it together with her partnerships. So we do thank you so much. We do have someone else who's going to be coming on the call, and I got to meet her briefly just on our last phone call. But we have calling in, we have Angela, and she's going to talk a little bit about her experience. So welcome, Angela.
Actually, Shanna.
It's actually Shanna. Thank you for that. And echoing Anna and Gabriel here, tremendous gratitude to you, MarciaAnne, for bringing this to life, and Angela for all your supportive structure and having looked into this already for this amount of time. For me personally, again, echoing Anna and Gabriel, is definitely transformative. Next to the war powers, for me, it's been primarily about recognizing that our divine rights, or the rights we have, our creator given rights, are always already here, and that it is about unveiling what the structure has imposed on us, let's just say. And for me, it is definitely a process. This is not a kind of we're just doing a little bit of paperwork here and filling out some forms and then we're done. It is really coming to understand how we stand in that, like who we are truly, and what this is informed out of. When MarciaAnne speaks to coming from the divinity, it is our spirituality or our spiritual beingness that is coming into form and has always already had those rights. And what I love about this work is that it gives an empowerment to stand in those rights without having to come from an anti or like wanting to fight, or we need to have, it's not about that. It's knowing who you are. And the more we know, or the more I know, the more confidence I have in what I stand for and what I'm willing to put up with or not. And it's been a huge gift, I have to say, and very much looking forward also to working with both of them, MarciaAnne and Angela, to get the word out on that. And as I put the focus on the spiritual aspect, I feel this is something worth mentioning, because as we are exposing ourselves to this discussion around sovereignty and becoming a public minister and PMAs and all of that, it's interesting that there's quite a bit of that already out there. Like different platforms are offering these kind of services and templates and all of that. And at the end of the day, I feel it cannot be emphasized enough that without your spiritual foundation of knowing who you are, the paper isn't going to do it. So that's my 2 cents.
Wow, brilliantly put. Thank you so much for your time. And what part of the world are you calling in from?
I'm in California, right? Right now,
California.
Nevada City. I'm meeting with MarciaAnne tonight, actually. So.
Oh, fantastic! Wow, you're lucky. You're in the same watershed as her.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thank you everyone for being on this call. And I know we could just go down the rabbit hole and talk about so many things, but I want to just finish with MarciaAnne giving any sort of a statement just to kind of wrap up this time together about her incredible distilling down an aggregated body of work called Wisdom's Calling, Blessings of Liberty, and anything else she would like to share. I also know that she is doing consultations with people and is working on a lot of different fronts with a lot of various people right now. And Marcia, if you'd like to finish the call and tell people how they can get in touch with you or get more involved, that would be great.
I would just like to say how humbly moved I am by not only the speaking of people who've been through this, but what I'm seeing emerging. I didn't know that this would be such a transformative, such a cathartic process for people. And I'm humbled and moved to tears every day by the divinity that each and every one of you are merging.
Well, it's the right time, the right place with the right message. And as you and I have shared in some of our discourses, Marcia, that we've been engineered for this time on the planet to help be a bridge to the new way of being in our sovereignty and all of these new structures that are coming out of a broken system from alternative economies and the way we take responsibility for our spiritual, mental, and physical wellness, becoming more self-sustainable, our relationship to the environment, our relationship to each other. So again, much props and respect and appreciation to you and for this body of work, and to everyone who was able to get on this call today. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Even the birds
Thank
agreed. All right, well, that'll wrap up this week's version of Solutionaries. Thank you, everyone, for taking a few moments of your precious time as we work together to help advance ourselves spiritually as individuals, but also as a collective and as a global civilization. So thank you, and we'll be back next week.
Thank you, Michael.